Hi, this is Nehal Kazim, and this is the Ad Tips for Ad Pros podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs and marketers how to grow their businesses with direct response advertising. And today we're going to talk about the second step in the ad method called the avatar. So what I wanted to go through were the 3 steps that we're looking at when we're optimizing the avatar and diving deeper, just so you can at least start with this process and know the first 3 steps that we use in order to figure out if we're actually going down the right path. The first thing that we do is we test our assumptions. Whenever we've made assumptions with Facebook advertising, we get our butts handed to us. So I make 0 assumptions, even when we have the exact copy that's worked in the past, the exact images, even when we're doing similar campaigns. It means nothing because you still have to test it. But when it comes to your avatar, I really want to get you to test your assumptions on who is the actual avatar in your business versus who you're going to be attracting with Facebook advertising, because it might be different. I'll give you an example. With one of our clients, they are in the hobby space, and what they were doing is they created a promotion where majority of their advertising, the majority of their clients were older women who are 50, 60 years old or older, who are doing this specific hobby. What we realized is that something didn't feel right because we knew there's a lot more people when we started analyzing the rest of the market and looking at audience insights and looking at all their bigger competitors. They had a lot of people that were actually younger and in the 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old segments as well. And so what we said, well, let's do a test. It's not that complicated. All we're trying to do is open up the segment in this case and see if that person is going to resonate with our offers. And we found out that they were not only going to buy, and not only did they buy, in some cases they were actually more profitable than the 50 plus segment. So if we didn't do that in that case and open up the targeting and open up our avatar, what would have happened is we would have tried to scale a campaign and optimize a campaign for a super small segment instead of opening it up for everyone. And what we realized is that in this process, the only reason we assumed that the 50-year-old plus person was going to be the only market that we focus on, the only reason we did that is because the client assumed the same thing, which is, well, this is who we've stereotypically seen everyone else, how everyone else targets. This is how we've been targeting. It's been working. Let's just keep continuing down that path. And it's not necessarily the client's fault or the market's fault. It's just naturally, it's human nature to stay in your comfort zone. And if something's working, you keep doing it. But what you want to do when you're in growth mode is you have to keep testing and you have to grow. And in order to do that, any kind of assumptions you make, you have to kind of poke the hole in them. So in this case, from an avatar standpoint, the first thing that we do is whatever assumptions we have, we try to test them and go outside of our comfort zone and figure out what kind of assumptions are we making and are those true? And then what are additional tests that we can do to completely prove those assumptions are correct or incorrect? So that's step 1. The second one is the second step that we're doing when we're diving deeper into an avatar is that we're looking at, is the segment that we're targeting, does it have our dream buyer? Here's what I mean. With one of our clients, they're in the e-commerce space and they're selling shoes around $200 and they have other leather accessories. And for their business, the average person just buys a pair of shoes. But there's other people that have paid $500. There's other people who've bought as many as 20 pairs of shoes. They call them whales. And in their business, what they're trying to do is attract as many of those whales as possible, because when they attract those, not only are they getting CPA or advertising free sales, they're getting a person who's loyal, who's a huge ambassador of their business, and will get all of their other friends to buy products from them as well. And so what we noticed is with some of our advertising, a lot of the first-time buyers were actually outside of the avatar of the whale. But what we noticed is that attracting the segment of the whale was expensive, but on the back end, it's incredibly profitable. So when we're doing our advertising, we're doing our best to not only attract the person who's going to pay for advertising and make it profitable today, but make sure that in that segment, we have the dream person, in this case, the whale, that's going to be buying over and over again. And so in your business, when you're going through your avatar, who is that whale for you? And who is that person who's going to be that hugely profitable segment that's going to generate a huge amount of revenue and return on your advertising on your behalf? So that's number 2. And then the last thing that we're looking for is we're looking for a feedback loop. This is so important, and it's so clear when a business owner has a pulse on the business versus someone who doesn't. And it's not just, I know my numbers or I know what's going on in my business. I'm talking about from an advertising standpoint. Do you know what the gaps are with your advertising? And do you know why people don't buy? Do you know why people do buy? And then how is that information being reflected in the rest of your advertising and your marketing? And so I'll give you an example of one of the things that we've seen with some of our clients. One thing is, especially if you have phone sales, what we've seen is because you're on the phone all the time, it's so easy to know what is actually working for a client or what's not, or in your business, why are people buying or why not, whether that's what changes that are going on daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly. We've seen that naturally the market shifts and changes as there's different offers, as there are different times of the year, as there are different challenges, if people got paid that week or not. You learn all these nuances as you're going deeper into the business. And when the business owner or the marketer is not connected to that same pulse, or is not connected to what's going on in the business, what we've seen is that it can't be reflected in the advertising campaigns because there's no feedback loop to actually optimize it. So one of the feedback loops is that with salespeople, we've been doing different sorts of assessments where we've stopped and said, okay, what's been going on this week, or what's been going on with this launch? What were the reasons that people didn't buy? What can we implement? And these kind of conversations led to different additional scripts. They led to different retargeting programs, email programs, how we're training additional salespeople, and so much more. And that only happened because we have one of those feedback loops, and one of those feedback loops is just with the salespeople. Another one could be what's going on in your messenger bot campaigns. Another one is what's going on your email campaigns. Even on Facebook ads, when you're seeing people who are commenting, we find gold in there as well, just so we can actually implement that and adjust it in our advertising campaigns. So the three things that we've talked about today, the first is you have to test your assumptions. Second is when you're targeting different segments, do these segments have your dream buyers in them? And lastly, do you implement feedback loops right now to keep optimizing your advertising campaigns? So hope this was helpful for the second step of the advertising method and the ad method, and I'll see you on the next one.